Hello, this is Shawn at the Art Center of Wilmington Island. Today we're going to paint a red fox. We're going to begin painting this picture by starting with white and blue for the background. I'm just going to go right into my white cup and pick up white paint to start with. And I'm going to use my brush and use the whole width of it to go across like in a diagonal direction. But as soon as I put a little bit of white on there, I'm going and I'm picking up just a smidgen of blue and I'm gonna mix it right in there with it. And you can see that I'm just gonna go back and forth in that diagonal direction just to fill in the sky area. Each time I go over to my cup, I'm just making a different selection between the blue and the white. You can almost alternate it if you want to, but once you get started, you'll see how much white you want to put and then how much of the blue that you want to use for your background space. Now remember, he is in the snow, so we'll be making it really look cold and snowy. And so if you will use your brush going back and forth and just really scrubbing it right across the canvas, the strokes are about 2 inches long, and as you make them, you can see that it adds a little bit of movement to the painting, and movement means that it shows that the snow is actually moving in this background. So we want that to be a real fun look. So we will add more snow after we finish the fox, but this is just our background area that we're going to make to start with. But you can see how fun and interesting it is if you'll take the color and not really mix it up on a palette before you paint with it. Just go right in, pick up the white paint, then go right over, pick up a little bit of blue paint, and continue back and forth until all of your space is filled in. Go right up to the fox, going right down to his leg. I want it to be really fun and interesting in the background just as much as I do for the fox. So I'm picking up a little turquoise green now and giving him a space that shows maybe a grassy area. So I'm picking up just a little turquoise and I'm continue painting the same way. I pick up a little more white, then I pick up a little bit more turquoise, that's that dark green color. Pick it up right out of the cup and just spread it along. If you go underneath something, it always makes it look like it has a little shadow, a little dark up underneath, and that will certainly add interest to your painting. So here's the turquoise. Now I'm gonna pick up a little bit more of the blue and add that in, and then I'm gonna come back with white, and then I'm gonna use all of those colors basically together to fill in all of the canvas. So now all of my area, you can see, has plenty of color, and now I'll add one more brush stroke of white at the bottom. And I really want him to look like he's sitting in the snow. So you can see adding that last little snow coming right across the picture really adds the look of that and makes the picture look, it makes the picture look like he's sitting sort of in the snow-covered area. So have fun with your background, and then you can get ready to go right into the red fox. So I'm gonna have to wash my brush to make sure that I can change colors from blue to the red. So wash your brush out good and then make sure you dry it off. And when you do that, then you're ready to pick up the colors for the fox. Now in your kit today, you have brown and orange, and we're gonna use those first, and then we'll add the dark red to it so that you can make the different colors of red for the fox by having different shades like cadmium red and the alizarin red that you can put in there. We're going to start just with the brown, which is the burnt sienna. I'm just going to pick up a little bit of the brown and come right in here and start this area and really just paint sort of the outside part, making him brownish. I'm going to add a little bit of the darker brown right into the inside part of his ear, so it looks like it's on the inside or up underneath. So I'll get that dark put in. I'm going to do the same thing like for his leg. I'm going to go in that front paw, you can see has a little bit darker color. So I'm just going to go right in with the brown and have a little bit of that dark brown in there with it. And these strokes I'm using about the same that I used on the outside for the background, except this time I'm following the contour or the shape of the fox's body to follow along with the texture that I want the fox to have on his fur. Okay, cut, now start. So with the brush, you can see I'm making those brush strokes about 2 inches long, and you can see that they're beginning to make the fox's fur. But I use that dark color first. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to use some of the dark red color. The red is alizarin red. It's a nice, beautiful, dark red color. We can put a little bit of that along his back area, right on top of the brown that we just added. So after we add the red in, we will add orange. And you can see how beautiful the orange looks as you begin to mix it in with the red and the brown. So it's very fun to mix these colors. Let them overlap while you're painting, and you will create the texture that you need for his coat. I'll add a little white into the orange too, and you can see that lighter color moving in right toward his stomach area. You can see how much of the white comes in. And if you don't have to wash your brush or change it, just go right in, add a little bit more white as you move towards his chest and his stomach area. And you can see how I'm overlapping it right over that sky area, so you can make sure that you see that the fox is in the front. We don't want the snow to be covering him up too much yet. But all of this area, now that I've added the white, I can come back in and make the orange just as bright as I want it to. I just keep adding paint from my palette. Just go over to your cup, pick up some more paint. He can be just as orange as you want him to. Just make sure that you overlap the colors, and you can see how to do that. Overlapping is really fun with wet paint. If the color red behind it is wet and you pick up the orange and you lay it right on top of it, you can see how all of those colors just mix together. So now we have a beautiful red fox. As we move up to the neck area, we're going to continue. I want to add a little bit more of the white to my brush now, because I don't want his face to be too dark. I'm going right across the line that you see. If you cover that area up with a little bit of white, but it has the orange on the brush, you can see that you can still see the area where your eye is. So that will be good. If not, you can just make up the line for the eye. The eye's closed, so it's real easy for you to draw that back in if you need to. So after you have this done, just continue adding white. You can see that his coat on his ear, you can see that light color just really comes in and overlaps right over his ear. And it does that on the bottom, and of course it does it on the top. So using that same stroke, you can just pull as much of the hair in as you want to make it look fluffy. And then we're going to go right into his mouth and chin area. I added just a little more white to the brush. I didn't wash it, but if you need to ever wipe off your brush, you can. Try wiping it off before you put it in the water. But now you can see I have so much white on there that you can really see it better and better. So now I can come in and do sort of a second coat and really make him look really fluffy. And now we'll use our detail brush so that we can add a few features. And so we'll do that with a small round brush. I'm going right into the dark brown and really mix half dark brown and half light brown together. That way I can put a little tiny line that's going to show where his eye is. It's just one line, and then maybe a little zigzag underneath it to show his little eyelashes. But you can see he's looking right up at the snow. He's really enjoying the snow on his face. So make sure you put his nose up there. And of course we're doing that with black. You can have a little brown in it if you want to. And then go right into the area up in between his mouth, and you can see one little thin line can go right in and make that space to show his mouth. Now he does have a darker color that's black and brown that goes up underneath the ear. So while you've got that little detail brush, you can come back in and make that area really darker in between the top part and the bottom part. So you can see that is pretty dark looking there. Now you can just go in, once you get him filled in with the oranges and reds, you can go in and add more color based on what he needs in each area. I'm adding a little bit more of white to the orange here so that he has a little bit of a line here from his cheek down right past his neckline. And as I add more and more white to him, you can see he looks very, very distinguished. Now, as I'm going down to the bottom, I'm going to pick up a little bit more orange. And I want the orange to overlap the white just a little bit and overlap that dark brown that's on his leg. And then I want to come on down and make sure I fill this space in for his body to make sure that all of that fur just really is fluffy and it fills in all of his space. And then once I have that done, of course, I am ready for snow. So to get the snow in, you're going to wash your brush thoroughly, and then you're going to pick up white paint and you're going to begin figuring out how much snow you want to have in your painting. So the fox really seems to be enjoying it, so you can use as much as you want to. Make sure you wash your brush good in the water, and then you pick up your cup of white paint. And at first, when you start playing in the white, you don't have to put tiny little dots. You can put maybe bigger sort of burst of snow that is floating around. But as you begin to get as much of the big flakes blowing around, you can change over and do some smaller flakes that you want to. I actually want some snow to go all the way around, like up underneath his body, so it looks like that he's really sitting in a pile of snow, or it's all sort of accumulated where he's been sitting. Then you can go in and start putting as much as you want to, like actually on the fox. He's really enjoying all that snow. So he could have some accumulated like on the top of his head. He could have some sort of accumulated on his body, just a little bit. You could put a few little flakes that come in that are a lot smaller. If you just take your brush and turn it to the end where the bristles are on the opposite end, you can just take and put your brush right into the paint, and you can make a tiny, tiny little mark, and you can make as many little snowflakes as you want to. I would only put enough to make the painting interesting, You wouldn't want to put so many that all you could see would be the snowflakes. The center of interest is the fox, so we want to make sure that you really just make him look super fantastic and super fun. He's really enjoyed this cold snow coming down, and so we want to put just enough of the snow to make him look fun and interesting. We don't want to put too many, so just look at your picture. Maybe you can ask somebody else to help give you some ideas about how much snow that you think he actually needs. But remember, you can alternate between using the brush end of the brush and then the wood end of the brush, and you can just dot, 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 dot. You can also go in and put it like it was blowing a little bit, so if you needed a little bit more on the bottom, you could certainly add that. So you can put as much as you want, but just enough to add interest to your painting. I've enjoyed painting this fox today, and I hope that you will send us a picture of the fox and let us see what you did.